You think you know your dog. You feed them, you walk them, you love them, and you assume that's enough to know when something's wrong. But here's the truth most dog owners never hear until it's too late. The warning signs aren't loud. They're not dramatic. They're quiet. They're subtle. And they hide inside the behaviors you stopped paying attention to months ago. Right now, your dog might be telling you something is wrong, and you might be missing it completely. This isn't about being a bad owner. This is about what nobody tells you. That dogs don't cry out for help the way we expect them to. They whisper. And if you don't know what to listen for, that whisper disappears into silence before you ever get a chance to act. By the end of this video, you're going to look at your dog differently. You're going to remember moments from the last few weeks and feel something shift in your chest, because you'll finally understand what those moments were actually telling you. And for some of you, what you're about to learn might genuinely save your dog's life. But here's what most people miss. It's not always the big behaviors that signal danger. It's the small ones, the ones you'd never think twice about, the ones that seem like nothing. That's exactly why they're so dangerous. Let's start with the one behavior that almost every dog owner overlooks first. Think about the last time your dog greeted you at the door. That explosion of energy, the tail spinning, the paws on your legs, the whimpering excitement that made you feel like the most important person on earth. Now ask yourself this: when did that stop? Or when did it slow down? Because here's what most people do. They smile when it happens, and they barely notice when it fades. A dog that suddenly stops greeting you with enthusiasm isn't just having a lazy day. That behavior, that frantic, joyful, almost embarrassing display of love, is one of the most biologically rooted behaviors a dog possesses. It's called greeting behavior, and it's driven by deep neurological and emotional processes that are always active in a healthy, bonded dog. When it disappears, something has shifted. Something has changed at a level you cannot see on the surface. The reason this matters so much is because greeting behavior is directly linked to your dog's dopamine response. When your dog is healthy, connected, and emotionally stable, seeing you triggers a chemical reward in their brain. It feels good to them, literally. When that response starts to dull, it's often the first external sign of internal disruption. Whether that's pain, illness, depression, or something else entirely. And this is where it gets serious. Because most people explain it away. They say, "Oh, he's just getting older." Or, "She's probably tired today." And sometimes, yes, that's true. But when it becomes a pattern, when the greeting gets quieter and shorter and then barely happens at all, that's your dog's body and mind sending you a message in the only language they have. Now let's talk about something even more overlooked. And honestly, something more heartbreaking when you understand what it really means. Your dog used to bring you things. A toy, a shoe, a random sock they dragged from somewhere. Maybe you laughed at it. Maybe you found it annoying. But that behavior, that little act of bringing you an object, is one of the most emotionally loaded things a dog can do. It's not random. It's not just excitement. It is your dog saying, in the clearest way they know how, "I want to share this moment with you." When a dog stops doing that, when the toys stay on the floor and nothing gets brought to you anymore, something in their world has gone quiet. Dogs that are in pain don't initiate. Dogs that are emotionally withdrawn don't seek connection. And dogs that are starting to feel unwell begin pulling back from the very rituals that used to define their relationship with you. But it goes deeper than that. Studies on canine behavior have shown that object carrying during greetings and moments of excitement is closely tied to a dog's serotonin levels and their overall emotional regulation. It's a behavior that only emerges when a dog feels safe, stimulated, and bonded. When it disappears without a clear reason, no change in environment, no new stressor, it deserves your full attention. Here's the part that will stay with you. Your dog didn't stop bringing you things because they love you less. They stopped because they don't have the energy, the drive, or the emotional capacity to do it anymore. And that difference between doesn't want to and can't anymore is one that only matters if you're paying attention closely enough to notice it. Let's talk about sleeping. Because this one is tricky. You've probably thought at some point, my dog sleeps so much, that's just what dogs do. And you're right, to a degree. Dogs sleep between 12 and 14 hours a day. Some larger breeds even more. But there's a specific change in sleep behavior that is almost universally ignored, and it's one of the clearest windows into your dog's physical and emotional health. It's not how much they sleep. It's where they sleep and whether they've changed it. A dog that suddenly stops sleeping near you when they always used to is not being independent. A dog that migrates from your bedroom to a dark corner or starts sleeping in isolated spots they never used before is exhibiting something called sickness behavior. It's a documented phenomenon in veterinary science where animals instinctively withdraw and isolate when they are unwell. It's biological, it's ancient, and it's heartbreaking once you understand it, because the dog you love is going through something alone, and they never had the words to tell you. And what happens next changes everything, because isolation in dogs compounds. A dog that begins to isolate due to pain or illness can develop secondary emotional distress, anxiety, depression, loss of appetite, all of which accelerate whatever is already happening internally. The withdrawal isn't just a symptom, it becomes a cycle. So if your dog has quietly shifted where they sleep and you wrote it off as a preference, take another look. Pay attention to whether they're avoiding the spots they used to love. Because that shift might be their version of reaching out, the only way they know how. Here's one that's going to make a lot of you stop and think. Your dog used to follow you everywhere, room to room, into the bathroom, down the hallway. They were your shadow, sometimes annoyingly so. You've probably joked about it. Maybe you even wished, at some point, for just 5 minutes alone, and then slowly, maybe without you fully noticing, they stopped following you as closely, or at all. Most people file this under they're maturing or they're becoming more independent. But here's the hard truth. Dogs don't develop independence the way humans do. A healthy, bonded adult dog still wants proximity to their person. That's not immaturity. That's biology. Dogs are pack animals, and you are their pack. When a dog stops seeking your proximity, it's not a sign of confidence. It can be a sign that the internal drive to connect is weakening. This weakening drive is directly associated with several serious conditions: chronic pain, thyroid dysfunction, early-stage organ disease, and even canine cognitive decline, which is far more common than most people realize. In cognitively declining dogs, one of the earliest behavioral shifts is reduced social seeking. They don't follow, they don't initiate, they drift. But here's what most people miss. This behavior change happens so slowly that it becomes invisible. It's not like one day your dog stops following you. It's a gradual retreat, a few steps each week, a little less interest each month, until one day you realize you can't remember the last time they were right behind you, and you don't know when it changed. That realization is worth sitting with. Let's go somewhere emotional now. Because this next one is the one that, when owners finally understand it, tends to break them a little. Eye contact. Specifically, the kind of deep, soft, extended eye contact your dog used to give you. Not the alert stare of a dog waiting for a command or the focused gaze of a dog tracking a ball. I mean the slow, warm, peaceful look. The one where they just look at you and you look at them, and something passes between you that doesn't need words. If you've experienced it, you know exactly what I mean. If you haven't, I'm sorry, because it's one of the purest things that exists between a human and a dog. When a dog makes that kind of eye contact with you, their brain releases oxytocin, the same bonding hormone that fires between a mother and her newborn child. This is not metaphor. This is peer-reviewed science. Your dog looks at you with love, and their brain responds to you the way a parent responds to their baby. The bond is that real, that deep. When that eye contact disappears, when your dog stops seeking your gaze, stops holding it, starts looking away, or avoiding your eyes entirely, something in that bond is under strain. Sometimes it's fear or confusion. Sometimes it's pain. Animals in pain often avoid direct eye contact because it requires a kind of engagement they no longer have the capacity for. And sometimes it's the early signs of vision changes or neurological shifts that affect how they process your face. But here's the piece that cuts deepest. Your dog cannot tell you they're in pain. They cannot say, "I'm scared," or "something feels wrong," or "I need you to take me to someone who can help." All they can do is stop looking at you the way they used to. And if you're not paying attention, if you're on your phone, or distracted, or just assuming they're fine, you'll miss it. And they'll carry whatever they're carrying alone. That thought should stay with you. We need to talk about eating. Not just whether they're eating, but how. A dog that suddenly eats slower, leaves food in the bowl, or shows hesitation before meals is not being picky. A dog that used to inhale their food in 40 seconds and now approaches the bowl, sniffs it, and walks away has experienced a shift that demands attention. Appetite changes in dogs are among the most clinically significant warning signs in veterinary medicine. And they are also among the most consistently dismissed by owners. Maybe they're tired of the flavor. It's probably the heat. They ate a lot yesterday. These are the stories we tell ourselves because the alternative is scary. But the science is clear. A sudden, unexplained drop in appetite almost always indicates something happening inside the body. Nausea, dental pain, gastrointestinal distress, organ stress, or emotional shutdown caused by anxiety, grief, or depression, which in dogs is just as real and just as serious as it is in humans. And this is where it gets serious, because appetite and energy are linked. A dog that stops eating fully starts losing not just weight, but also the nutritional support their organs need to function, their immune system needs to defend, and their brain needs to regulate mood and behavior. What begins as a changed eating pattern can cascade faster than most owners expect. Watch the bull. Watch the hesitation. Watch the body language around feeding time. Because your dog's relationship with food is one of the clearest mirrors of their internal state, there's another behavior that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most emotionally significant one on this list. Play. Specifically, when your dog stops initiating it. There's a difference between a dog who is calm and a dog who has gone quiet. A calm dog is relaxed, responsive, occasionally playful, and engaged with their environment. A dog who has gone quiet is present in body, but somewhere else entirely. They don't initiate play anymore, don't react to the toys that used to send them into a frenzy, don't respond to your playful voice the way they once did. Play in dogs is not optional. It is not a luxury behavior. It is a fundamental expression of psychological well-being. When a dog stops initiating play, not because they're physically incapable, but because the internal spark simply isn't there, that absence is a window into something deeper. Anhedonia, the clinical term for inability to feel pleasure, is documented in dogs. It presents exactly this way. The things that used to matter don't. The things that used to light them up no longer reach them. But what breaks people when they hear this is the realization that this can go on for weeks or months before it's caught. Because a quiet dog is often labeled as a good dog, as well-behaved, as finally calming down. And sometimes it is those things. But sometimes, it's a dog disappearing slowly behind their own eyes. And you deserve to know the difference. Let's pull this together now, because everything we've talked about connects. Greeting behavior, bringing you objects, where they sleep, whether they follow you, the way they look at you, how they eat, whether they still want to play. These aren't random behaviors. They are the architecture of your relationship with your dog, the living, daily proof that they are healthy, bonded, and present. When those behaviors shift, the architecture is telling you something. Dogs do not have the luxury of language. They have behavior. Behavior is their voice, their signal, their only way of reaching toward you when something is wrong. And the tragedy, the real avoidable tragedy, is that most of those signals go unread. Not because owners don't love their dogs, but because nobody taught them what to look for. You now know what to look for. Here's what I want you to take away from this. The moment you notice a change, not a dramatic collapse, not an obvious emergency, but but a quiet shift in one of these behaviors. That is the moment to act. Not next week. Not after a few more days of wait and see. That is the moment to call your vet and describe what you've noticed, because a vet who understands behavioral medicine knows that the subtlest changes often carry the loudest messages. Your dog has given you everything. Every morning greeting, every soft gaze, every ridiculous toy placed in your lap, every shadow following you down the hallway. They gave you all of it freely, without condition, without expectation. The only thing they ask, the only thing they have ever asked, is that you pay attention. Pay attention. Because the version of your dog that greets you at the door, brings you things, seeks your eyes, follows your footsteps, and launches into play at the sight of a tennis ball. That version is not guaranteed forever, but it can last longer. It can be protected. It can be fought for. And all it takes is the willingness to notice when something changes and the courage to act before silence becomes the answer. If this video made you think about your dog differently, if it made you want to go check on them, hold them a little longer, pay closer attention tomorrow morning, then share it. Send it to someone who loves their dog the way you love yours. Because the information in this video doesn't just live here. It lives in every moment you choose to be present with the animal that has never, not even for a second, stopped being present with you. Subscribe if you want to keep understanding your dog at this level. Because there is so much more they're trying to tell you, and you deserve to hear all of it.